So hello everybody, my name is Giron. I work with CA First. Right now I'm going to show you about what we are doing at CA First to be able to help the people in the industry to be able to implement or at least have some tools to be able to have DevOps implemented in the place. Okay, we have one main product that is CA Matchpoint. That is what I'm going to show you how we actually use Matchpoint to have some or to help to automate some of the process of the DevOps tool change. Okay, so to this. Okay. Okay. So this is the session is the current state of the art of the CA Plex and CA sign-on. So CA Matchpoint actually support 2E, sign-on, and also Plex is developed primarily for Plex, but actually support the two type of tools, and we have some good process for both of the two to be able to help with the DevOps implementation. Like I mentioned, my name is Giron. I work with the CA First as a senior consultant. I'm also the lead developer for the Matchpoint, and we are just adding new features to Matchpoint. Like for example, the latest addition is web service implementation or deployment on the 2E side, and also Git support and to be able to implement something like Jenkins at the end of the process of the DevOps. Okay. So we have been talking about DevOps for a long time. Do we really know what DevOps is yet? So there is a lot of talking about is automation DevOps, right? Just by automate all the processes, is having DevOps implemented in your application and in your environment. And we will see that that is just not enough. Automation your process doesn't actually just is sufficient to have DevOps. Is one of the main necessary component of the DevOps, right? You try to have everything kind of automatically instead of manual tasks, right? Let me just hide this. Oops, sorry. We need to hide something here to be able to watch what I want to talk about. Okay. Automation has been fundamental, right, for the movement. Since the inception, we try to do a manual tasks out of error. We want to remove the human error out of repetitive tasks. That is very important for the DevOps implementation. Okay, and we kind of most of the tools kind of focus on that, right? Automate the process just to make sure that there is no error in the process that can be avoided. Okay, another thing is the cloud. A lot of people kind of thinking that when you have one of your components implemented or deployed in the cloud, you're doing DevOps. That is not necessarily true. So the DevOps is going to be culture thing that you need to implement, also a tool that you need to make it fit in the culture of DevOps. Okay. Of course, DevOps, as we know, has some advantages, right? We try to reduce the risk and disruption of everything that we put out there to the public, to the customer. We want to make it sure that, okay, we want to make it sure that we just deliver something with quality and not include a lot of issue when we do a big kind of a release, right? We can have cross-team kind of collaboration. This is kind of the main purpose of the tools that we want to implement, to be able to have communication across our team, to be able to have one single place or at least an easy way to communicate or collaborate with people through now share files, through communication kind of software like Teams or any of those type of application that we can use to collaborate. Faster software release, we actually kind of seen these. We are one kind of success story. We started with big project like M3 that took us a long time to kind of be able to see a final result, but now it's kind of a daily process that we have. So it is something that DevOps has helped a lot, just to be able to automate all the tasks that we kind of be able to automate and just let it run in the process. Okay, so why do we want to use the actual tool? Sorry, why do we want to use tool? We want to make sure that we capture everything that is requested from our customers, anything that is happening in the application, anything that can be improved in the application. We need a way to communicate with people, to have collaboration across the team. So continuous development also is very important. We need to have some kind of tools that will allow us to implement continuous development, continuous integration, continuous testing, that is very important also, and continuous deployment. That is the main kind of components that we try to solve with Matchpoint, right? We try to provide a solution for all those needs, and that is the reason why Matchpoint is kind of very, very useful for implementing DevOps, right? It's just one of the tools that you can have when implementing DevOps. Okay, so what are the challenges that we normally have? Issue tracking, okay? How do we control all the changes or requests that the customer will require for their application, right? Can we maintain multiple versions of an application? This is something that can be challenging in a Plex environment or a 2E environment. Can we maintain multiple applications? We have seen that some customers, some shops have Plex and 2E or having used 2E and now want to move to Plex, and they want to maintain one single tool to be able to maintain their application, and Matchpoint is a tool that allows you to do that, okay? Can we identify object being worked and not deployed to production? This is kind of important. We have, well, with 2E, there is not a big problem when you're working with an object because it's a centralized type of model where when somebody's working with something, everybody knows. But with Plex, this is kind of hard because it's a distributed type of development environment. So to know who is actually working in an object, you require some very kind of a specific process in Plex. But with Matchpoint, you can easily identify when you have a new change request, you can actually be able to identify who's working, if that has been promoted, or in which stage that object is actually right at the moment of a new change request, right? So it's kind of useful for the issue tracking component of DevOps. Okay, the other thing is source control for CA Plex environment. We don't kind of require source control for the 2E because it's kind of a self-contained environment. So we try to add all this versioning component to the Plex environment. Can we do versioning with the Plex group model? We kind of know that the Plex group model is kind of a special animal that you need to treat it like a whole entity and cannot be merged. That is one of the biggest problems of the group model, cannot be merged like any other source code or source file that you may have. So that is a very, very big problem that the group model has. And also with the latest, is Git possible? Because everybody's trying to get or is trying to use Git as much as they can. And yeah, so we kind of have attacked this problem of versioning for the group model by using another tools that can be integrated with Matchpoint. For example, Subversion, and now with the latest addition to support Git bash in Matchpoint, we can now use Git to be able to commit sources. At least for now, Git is supported for commit sources. There is a way to have the group model with a pessimistic lock, but that is not out of the box process for Git. So we still kind of, not recommend, but we still kind of stay with the Subversion kind of process to lock because you need to have only one person can be working on the model at a time and cannot be distributed as a Git. But we're working to try to find a good way just to have, as we have the sources now, be able to have the group model in Git when we get to a point that is when that is possible, right? Can we do version? Yeah, Git and Subversion can be used for the generate sources. This can be automated, right? To be able to send the sources to each repository that is required to be exist. We cannot be, we are able now to have any type of a structure in the process that we generate the sources. We can commit no matter what type of a structure the sources require, we can commit now. What else? A continuous integration, right? Build for CA Plex model. We can automate the full model generation. This is kind of very useful, for example, to try to automate your releases. This is what we currently use to be able to have new releases every day of the product that we're working or the project that we're working. This is a way that we kind of define in Matchpoint one specific list of objects that will be generated through night, and then Matchpoint call the build process to be able to have a WAR file or committed the sources with the latest addition of Jenkins to use Jenkins to have a WAR file. The process for the building is kind of allowing to have or allowing to at least document any issue that the source may have, you know, because we always use the model as the source of truth. So we don't kind of, in our process, we normally do not move the sources from developer to QA to production. What we do is move the model. The model is updated from the developer. Then the model is generated in the generation server, and the sources will always come from the model. So you know that if some developer just make the change but didn't update the model, that is something that may affect at the end. So we always use the model as a source of truth. And the build process allows us to generate from the model, take all the sources, compile it in any type of language, because Plex is internal process in Plex is the generation, right? So the build can be done externally. We have a tool that can do both of those tasks at the same time, like generate and build, or we have scripts that can do the generation and then the build. No matter if this is C++ or C#, we can still do externally. And in some of the examples I'm going to show you is related to a web application, but the process can work for either a C# that you can send the build process remotely, or a second stage, or C# that you can also send. And that is done through the build script in Matchpoint. Okay, the other task is continuous integration. How to automate the CA Plex model extract and update process. This is kind of not really an automated process in the sense of you will always, or you will normally have conflicts in the group model. So the update process is not something that can be completely automated, because you need somebody to make a decision if what change is going to be kept in the model, right? So we try to provide an easiness to the group model so that the user can have, the developer, sorry, can have some kind of a self-service process where they can extract and update the model based on their need. And then Matchpoint is keeping the group model and moving the group model to the next environment. And then when they get to the generation environment, all that information that has been updated to the model is generated based on the generation script or list. Normally what is created in a group model is a list of each developer will have, and he will maintain that list and make sure that only the objects that has been modified exist in the list for every day. Only that is generated when there is a big actual project, right? Sometimes the projects are so small that you can generate everything. Sometimes they are big that you just need to make that by group. Okay, the continuous deployment. we can also help with the continued deployment in two ways. We have for the web services, we can, sorry, for the web application, we do a deployment automatically using the Matchpoint build script. So it can send information to the, sorry, it can send all the WAR file in this case for a web application. It can send to the server. If this is a C++ application, for example, it can create a zip file and put it in the server, or put it in some location where the user can actually extract and be able to update their application, if that is the way that the application is updated. Okay. Okay, that is for the challenges, sorry, and the solutions is Matchpoint, right, for everything, kind of. Matchpoint change request management, we control all the issues. We have all the issue tracking with the change request management that Matchpoint has. Systemized objects and CA Plex objects. And this is not just reduced to 2E or Plex objects. You can have any object that you may need from the S400 side or from the Windows side that you want to include. For example, CSS that are not part of Plex environment or HTML type of files, you can include them and move it together with your changes. Okay. The model management, we kind of create a way, like I mentioned, like a self-service type of environment that is kind of hard if you still use, for example, one model manager, or you have your model in a shared folder where there are some problems when somebody is actually extracting or updating a file, or you have just one person in charge of extracting and updating the model. With using Subversion, we can have or make that available to all the developers, so they can actually get that the latest group model from the repository, make any extraction or make any update from the local machine, and then send it back to the repository, updating the group model easily without much of waiting time or just waiting for somebody to do that process. Automate tests, we have some integration with the SmartBear that's complete, but also we're trying to make it work with RPA just to make sure that we can have more options to be able to at least try to make it or automate more tasks from Matchpoint point of view. Okay. So this is kind of where Matchpoint actually fits, right? We're in the packaging. For example, we can create package for C++, or we can create package for web application, and then deploy it to whatever location is required. The continuous delivery, we have the auto-gen, auto-build, and these include sending the sources or committing the sources to the different repositories that we may have. We have the continuous integration with the model manager. So every change that is done into the model, the model can be updated and extracted from the developers. So we can achieve that with the model manager. And then we have the promotion process that allows you to have kind of continuous deployment. So when everything is promoted, depending on the type of application that you may have any variety, any kind of application into it. So depending on the application, sometimes you're going to deploy, for example, a zip file for a C++ application, or you're going to deploy RPG objects in the S400, or just going to deploy a WAR file for a web application. Okay, continue with the Matchpoint overview. So Matchpoint is what really initially created for developing CA Plex, C++ with RP or with the S400 backend. But we are always trying to improve this. We now support CA2E, not directly from the model, but at least the object from the CA2E, we can do that. The change request management provides information about activities associated. This is kind of a log that you can have when a change request was created, who took it, who worked with it, what model was used, if this is a Plex model, or what object were included in the promotion, and you can have also rollback and things like that, right? We can have also from MatchPoint scheduled deployment for Windows and the iSeries. This is something that I'm kind of using a lot right now. I just schedule my generation process after I update the model, and that just trigger the process and creates a new release every day, actually. Well, project information is something that we don't kind of use a lot, but it's there if you want to control hours or things like that. And also we have something called customer information. This is kind of at a glance of the process. For example, for a 2E, a type of implementation of MatchPoint, you will have the change request that will be created, that will be approved if you have that process, that will be assigned, then that change will be developed for the CA developer. It will generate and do the unit test, and then we from MatchPoint we will import those objects and then just move it through the different environments that the promotion path. Another good thing that MatchPoint has that can have multiple promotion paths. You may have kind of emergency paths where you can move from one environment to the other because it's an emergency. You don't need to have. This requires some user belonging to a specific group of users that has authority. But MatchPoint can have different promotion paths that can be and sometimes be useful to be able to deal with some specifics requirements of your application. Okay, this is for Plex, right? This kind of different. We kind of have more control in the Plex environment. We kind of add multiple components into that process. And this includes, for example, the gen and build tool, the packaging tool. This is the one that actually, this is Word file, but it can package C++, it can package a zip file with all the DLLs and PLLs and send that, or the DLLs if you have C#, you just zip that and put it wherever you define. In this case, it's just talking about the Word, it's just talking about a web application because it's kind of what we do most. We do with web application, but you can have anything in the packaging. And the gen and build tools also, you can gen and build everything that Plex can generate and build. And this can be done in two stages. You can gen and build at once, or you can just generate the sources and then use a script to build whatever you need to build from the process. Automation, we can do that. We can kind of display the results, and based on this result, the process will continue. So we add some components there. I should have mentioned that in the top, so we have subversion for the group model. And this is very, very useful to be able for the user to actually have some kind of automator or be able to have an extract really fast, really easy. So the process is kind of the same, but in this case, once this is assigned, we try to have, sometimes this is very difficult, but there are mechanisms in Plex, for example, having submodels, okay, where you can have to extract really big models for the different developers. So the idea that we try to implement with MatchPoint is always have a new local model for each of the requirements that you have. And that's the reason why we need to provide a good way for the user or the developer to be able to easy have access to have a new local model, right? So with Subversion, the group model can be extracted really easy kind of, and that change request is assigned, right? Sorry, that new local is assigned. The developer does his work, he locally gen and test, and then he does. Sometimes this is not mandatory to import the objects, depending on the type of implementation of MatchPoint. So we have, like I mentioned, we have two ways to do this. One is moving the sources from each environment, from developer, QA, and production. Or the other thing is just moving the model. That's kind of what we prefer to do because we can kind of trust the model, because if there is no change in the model, then it's not going to be in the source. We can try to avoid that kind of unsync between the sources and the model. So this is kind of optional. You can move or promote the model instead of all the sources, and that can give us a more accurate information. Also, we have a cumulative type of change request where you can have multiple changes and you just want to commit one. That can be done in Matchpoint. Okay. You should have a glass of water. How do we, talking about the Matchpoint tool change implementation, we have the issue tracking, right? We have all the information that you may require for one issue. We even have more information that is required, for example, time that's going to be spent, but all the information is there. We also have integration with the file system, so you have any kind of file that you need to attach to Matchpoint can be done through that integration, okay? And any user can see any document you have. What I want to show here, well, this is kind of all the logs that you would find in one change request, what is happening, when it happened, what stage or what measure style was created. It will show if there is an error, it's going to show here, and then you can double click and see what errors happened in that moment. So you will have all the history of the promotion, if what promoted, rejected, and then promoted back. All that information is there. And then you have the objects. The object that you will have can be Plex. Here you see some option. We can have objects from the system I. So this means 2E objects or any object in the iSeries machine. File system import. This means that you can add any other type of file, like a CSS or any other type that doesn't belong to Plex or doesn't belong also to 2E. And then you have the Plex import, where actually you integrate. We use the Plex API to be able to get information or get objects from Plex. And then you have the Subversion import, another one that is not really that big use. And you will see all the objects there. And once you use that object, those objects are moved to the repository or to the main repository. And then you can just say, I'm going to work with this, I'm going to work with this, and you can search from here. And you don't need to import, you just need to use them. And the next time or when anybody else try to use that object, it will tell them that it's being used in another change request. Okay, we have also the source control. For the flexible model, the normal approach is the above, where you will have you will have one person in charge of actually getting all the local model, updating the group model, then extracting and sending all the group model. And the approach we try to do is kind of a more direct approach, where the developer has access to the group model through the subversion in this case, and they can actually extract or update it. All these extraction and update process is defined by user group authority. So it's not like everybody can do that. You can define which developer or which user in Matchpoint can actually do that. And this is just for the Plex, for the group model, right? So this is the way we do that. This is the way we kind of create that kind of easiness for the developer. So there is no one between the work they do and the actual group model that they use. Okay, so this is for the source control, yeah, for the generated source in Plex. It's kind of a complex diagram, but this is the way that normally happens. So the developers will normally use the Plex promotion process to promote from development to QA, which is we have 3 environment here, but you can have any number of environment, but this will be kind of the same process that will be executed, right? So when the promote is done from the generation to QA, what is happening is just the auto-gen. This is for Plex, right? The auto-gen process actually is started. It generates the sources, send the sources to the local working copy in whatever location. It can be in an external server, but it's sending that information, that sources to that place, so that can be later used to be able to update the repository, right? Then those sources are used to build the process and deploy the binaries, right, for the QA environment. So in the example I'm going to show is just going to be a WAR file, but like I mentioned, can be any supported generated binary that Plex has, right? So the QA does its work, and once the QA approve that, is going to be able to. John Rod's entering the waiting room. Sure. John Rod's waiting. Okay. So yeah. So once the QA group just approve the work that has been done, they promote to the production, right? This is normally done by some authorized user to do that. The actual QA member is just going to click a button and say promote, and that is going to deploy the binaries. We don't do any other build from that binaries. Now from here, what is moved across is the binary of the actual, in this case, let's call this WAR file, because we're talking about a web application here. And when they are moving to production, there is another process that is automatically a trigger that is going to actually send the source that we have for those binary committed to the repository. And now we can have Subversion and Git. And this is done just by clicking one button, and this green part is the automation part that Mashpin now that needs or is required to do when something is happening in that process. Okay. Okay, so another, the support we provide for the group model is we can have each application, each version can be configured. So if you have, let's say, 3, 4, 5 group model, you can put it there in Mashpin, and you can have it as module, or you can have them as application. And Mashpin will handle that without a problem. You can have multiple versions, multiple applications, and Mashpin can be configured to use. What this is example is not using Subversion, but I think there's this one is using Subversion, where you could use the repository that is going to be used for that specific group model, and from there everything is taken care by. The other tool that we have for the model is to be able to auto-gen and auto-build. We can generate and build from this function that Mashpin contains. It knows the local model that the change request has. It can generate, and the way this is integrated normally is by list. So the list is very used, or we do have a heavy use of the list type of object in Plex, because that's the way that Mashpin kind of integrate or link between Plex and the change request. This is, you need to create a list with the same change request number to be able to Mashpin to know what to do and which objects is going to be required to generate. Okay, well, yeah, like I mentioned, self-service for CA Plex model, local model templates. We kind of automate the process. One of the main issues that we have when we have multiple versions, when we have multiple variants of our application, maybe one developer can be working in the wrong variant of our application. So what we have in Mashpin, we can have a local model template that when they extract, they actually use a template, so they know, or actually the management know that they are going to actually use the correct variant of setting for the group model. The automate model generation option is also there because depending on the type of application, you may need some specific setting for the generation. For example, if you want to do debugging, you want to have enabled the debug generate for debugging. So this is or generate the comments. That is something that we use a lot to be able to, for example, use in evolveIT. So we can have that in the local model template. We can have all that information just being used by the user and centralized or managed by one person. And what I'm talking about is this, you know, the Plex model. All this information is kept in the template. So when the user extracts, is using one template. So all that information is used. We can change this in Plex, but at least it's something we try to avoid just by giving that information from the very beginning. Okay, this is the other things I was mentioned. We may need to generate a specific folders. We may need to generate a specific library, depending on the application that we have. All this information, all this generate and build option, we also automate that. So once the template is created, all this information is stored and is passed to the group to local model when it's created. Okay. The continuous integration, when the promotion process, we will see the promotion. Unfortunately, at this moment, the CA Plex API doesn't allow us to automate the login to the group model and try to commit or update the group model. So we're still being able to call the Plex model, open the Plex model, and let the user to still manually do the update and extract when necessary. But this is because there is no way to do that through the Plex API. We don't have access to that. But the continuous integration, any change that the local model has is updated to the group model every time that a new change request is finished. And the idea is to have one local model, for each change request. That model is kind of discard. If something happened, we can go back to that specific model. We will find those changes there. So the continuous integration, how we achieve this? Okay, so we have some specialized kind of sub-tools from Mashpoint that we can have. For example, the autogen that will allow you to autogen and build the package that will allow you to package your application depending on the type it's going to create. We're going to save the DLLs, C++, or create a WAR when it's a web application. Okay. And when using the promotion, we can promote from any place to the next environment just by clicking that. Once everything is correct, you can move that and you can continue to deploy to production. Some people doesn't like that. To move objects from developer or allow the developer to have access to promote, but you can have a user with enough authority to be able to look at these. You can have that information. There's something called a status in the change request information that can allow to know which user can actually see those change requests at what time and which environment, and from there you can promote. The other thing that we can allow, for example, in the AS400 is that we can have, we call this master user. If you have some restriction, for example, to promote to the production environment, we can have a master user that has special permission or privilege to be able to promote to that. But through all the normal process, the current user is used to move objects from one place to the other. So that is something kind of new that we have added to the Mashpoint process. Okay, then well, this is continuous deployment, but for testing, we can have the testing capabilities in the process. Okay, so I'm going to do a really quick demo. I don't know if there's any question. There's something in the chat. Let me check. Sounds good. Okay. Do any of your current customers use Plex? Running our application with the data hosted.
That might be the one left over from mine.
Okay, so it's not from this session. Looks like this.
Is it this?
kind of early, yeah, it's kind of early, so maybe it's right.
Yeah,
So we started after this, right?
yeah, click on that and see what comes up. You know what? Scroll down.
This is the last thing, so.
Yeah, it's the last thing. Yeah, so-
Okay, so there is no question for me. Okay, so let me just real quick take my mouse to be able to do the demo. I think I have another thing to say, but that is for Plex. So real quick, I'm going to show you how to, for the TUI side, how we can import objects, and we have now the extended promotion process that does not promote normal Plex, normal TUI objects, but now also promotes or install web services from Azure. Okay. I thought it was open, but it's not. I need a charger. Can you borrow me your charger? It's complaining about it. Thank you very much. I don't think it's a good idea to disconnect anything from there.
No, I agree.
Yeah. Okay, let's try.
So you get through there.
I don't know, it's complete. Yeah, the battery is just 18 minutes, so. Okay, so I'm going to try to keep going. While. Okay, so now we're going to show you how we can actually import objects from the generated sources from TUI, from the S100. The user or the developer will generate to a specific location that we can use to be able to import those objects and then move across the different environment. So to be able to do that, we normally create a change request. We can have multiple application in, sorry, this is not the correct environment. This is the correct environment. Yeah. So I'm going to create a new one. Select my application. In this case, I just only have one. You require some information in the change request, but it's minimum. So I'm just going to do a test. And then it's going to define in which environment is currently this defined. And I'm going to define that I'm currently developing this change. I'm not actually going to do any change in TUI, but just to give you an idea. Then we have something called objects, and the objects that we want to promote, in this case for the TUI application. And and we have promotion. You can have as many promotion, by default Plex be one promotion, but you can add the object that you're going to promote. Then we use the system import, and the system import is defined by user ID. I'm going to delete that because I have another user for this. And then I'm going to define what I want to import. You can have any type of object that you want to import. For example, I don't know, PGM, MDL, module, service program, whatever type of object. In this case, we're going to import them all that were created. I can put my user here, created by today. So this will be all the ones that are created by me today. That would be good. Okay. This is imported from the actual library of the TUI. And now, as you can see, this is a yellow one. This is the new thing that we have now. That is why we call now extended promotion process, because we just not just move the object from library to library in the different environments. We now have more capabilities. For example, when an object is a service program, we can actually read the module. Let me do a test here. And we can define the web service file we want to create. And in this case, it's going to be REST. And The functionality embedded in Matchpoint now allows you to have all the different parameters that you can define as input and output, depending on the web service you want to implement and depending on the type of parameter that you're using. And you can have also friendly names, okay? Depending on the type, Matchpoint is going to create the URI path. For example, for a REST, is going to create the URI path for the actual, for the correct location. I just forgot the word there. But if, for example, you can do SOAP also here. I'm not going to put anything here because there's a lot. And I have that information already, so I'm going to show you one. So we need some. I think I can do this person. So I'm going to take something out of here because I need to be able to have my laptop connected. So what can I disconnect here? This is going up. This is going. Looks like this, right? This doesn't seem to be.
Monitor.
Yeah. So looks like
Okay.
we're good. Okay. So like I was mentioned, I'm just going to use one that I already have here just to show that we have all the objects. Oh, sorry, it's not the one. Yeah, thank you very much. So as you can see, with me now is 10 functional. So you're not seeing my screen? You're seeing my screen in the chat, in the conference, right? Okay, good. So as you can see, with this new functionality, we can actually read the module information and get all the parameters, input, output. That is the decision that you were going to make. And then we support a friendly name, okay? And we also support the HTTP status that can be returned from the web service, okay? All this information, one of the benefits of this is that you need to enter just one and not as going to the console of IBM, where if you want to deploy something, you will need to enter that in all the different environments that you have, so that can create a lot of problem, right? So as you can see, we're going to deploy one specific web service that is called @person. This is going to be a REST service, okay? It's going to have a consume URI path, okay? And it's going to have a post type of method, and it's going to produce JSON. This is very important because depending on how you want to your user to read this information, that's the type of produce that you want to define. Okay, so you define the friendly names, and then the process is using the same promotion process that we already have in Matchpoint, just adding new functionality to support this type of object when they are service program, when they are web service. You can actually include that functionality there, and Matchpoint allow you to have the deployment to the local environment. For example, if you have, in this case, we have a web service for the developers, they can actually try to, or they can test the actual web service instead of promoting before any test, so they can locally test. Okay. I'm going over time. Let's check here. This morning we have some issues with the server, but it looks like it's responding now. So the web service is add now. What Matchpoint is validating the web service, so it's contacting the actual web console and asking, are you up? Is the web service installed? Is running? And if everything is okay, Matchpoint is going to tell you, okay, you have you have installed and your web service is running, and this is the information, okay? So that is that you want to manually install the web service, but in the promotion process that we have in Matchpoint, once you want to promote that, all that information that you already have entered to that, all the friendly names, all the type of parameters is already there. So if you want to move, for example, from a dev to QA, okay, so you just need to use the promotion process for Matchpoint, and that will be done automatically. Matchpoint will identify if in the promotion object that you have, well, I have multiple conflicts here. Just let me, okay, I can continue. Matchpoint tell you if you have the same object in multiple change requests and if you want to continue or not. So it's moving the object from library, in this case, from library to library. It's moving the object from environment to environment. And then it's identifying one object is a web service. It's going to try to install that in the next environment. Matchpoint will know if that next environment is contains a web server. If not, then it's going to bypass that. So we have all that type of information already there, and it's going to promote the objects and just install it in the other server. Okay, so it's finished. Now it's just validating that information, and if anything goes wrong, Matchpoint is going to tell you, and the object, the change request is not going to be promoted. In this case, is promoted to testing. So from here, you can continue with the process, but you don't need to enter again the parameter. Okay, that is there's a lot of things that you can do for the TUI environment, but that is just a couple of things that we're working on that I wanted to show you, the object and the standard promotion process that we have there. Okay, so you're seeing this right now? Oh, sorry. So you're seeing the presentation now, or just still with the in the chat in the? Okay, this one. Okay, great. So that's what I wanted to show you here. We can have any type of import. We can move across multiple environments. One application can have multiple promotion paths. You can have groups of environment to be able to promote multiple environments at the same time. You can define what type of object you want to promote, and Matchpoint will be have all the information to know what to do with that. In this case, this is an example of a web service that we did, and Matchpoint knew that he has to install that. Okay, so for the CA Plex, there is a little time, so I'm going to go to this part right now instead of going off all that, just to explain to you that. So we have in Matchpoint a process that can actually generate, compile, build a new WAR for the web application. But one of the main issues we saw with that is that it's kind of doesn't provide enough information. If you want to see any problem, you need to read the logs. You don't have enough information to be able to know if something is wrong, or just at the end, is something failed, but you don't have notification. But using the integration with Git, Bash, and promoting objects to a Git repository, and using Jenkins pipeline, we can actually have continuous integration, continuous delivery, right? Automate the integration of the code change, everything that we commit to the repository, to the Git repository from Matchpoint can be automatically create a new deploy a new release using Jenkins. Okay, this is something we're kind of actively working. This is kind of still working on the batch, but we want to use the API of Git to be able to have more control on that, and to be able to provide more integration for Matchpoint and Jenkins. Okay, so I'll try to do that real fast. So, okay. So normally you will have a new extract from Matchpoint, right? When you create a new change request. In this case, I'm going to use my Java application. Okay. I'm going to create a new change request. I'm going to extract a new local model. if we have time. Okay, I'm just going to put test here and going to define this as development, just to let Matchpoint know that I start actively working with this. And then the new change request, I'm going to extract a new local model, okay? And because of the template that I'm going to use and because of the integration with the application, for example, a Matchpoint, when I click select, Matchpoint is going to tell me, okay, this is a subversion copy. In this case, for the group model, we're using subversion, right? And it's going to get that information and have everything from the repository and have it ready. And then I can extract a new local, right? And from here, we start to using the Plex API. So there is some consideration that you may have. For example, the Plex API can only be one instance. You cannot have OpenPlex multiple times. Try to use one API. The first one is the one that actually has that. Okay, so in the process, it's locking the files for the current working copy. So everything is locked. Nobody can actually work with the group model right now. This is just telling me that I have already one local model like that. I'm going to create yes. And from here is just the same process as you would normally extract from Plex, because there is no, the API doesn't provide access to be able to log into the and be able to extract. But as you can see, we have all the information required. All the configuration is there. We just need to log in and extract. Okay. The library is already there. This is just the host that we need to extract to have the latest. And we will see that now we have the latest. And then we just save everything until when everything is extracted. And we will have a new local to be able to work. So now it's unlocking the group model, making sure that the other people can have access. And that is added to my change request. So I have a Plex local model now that I can work with. So I double click. I will do my changes for this change request. As you remember at the beginning, I say that the integration between Plex and Matchpoint, sorry, is through the change request. So I need to have a list with this number 4,199 in Plex, and I put my object there. I'm just going to use this one because I'm lazy. Okay. So I'm going to create my list with these two objects. And this is kind of when the developer is making the changes, is having everything ready. Okay. So save. So everything is kind of work. So it's ready to promote. Okay. So to promote that, we kind of do the same process to be able to have the local model, right? So the local model is going to be updated. So we're going to use this one we're working with, and it's going to be a working copy. So it's going to do the same process, lock everything, making sure nobody else can actually get into that. Okay, it's taking some time. Okay. I didn't have an installed zip file, but there's no problem. So it's trying to open Plex right now. And I can update the group model. Okay. As I don't have too much time, what I'm going to do is just bypass that part. This is just updating the group model. So it's moving that to the allowing the developer to be able to promote, because the group model has been updated, right? So the developer now can promote this, and is going to have this move to the next stage. In this case, this promotion path includes a generation server that is going to kick in once we promote this information, and this will have the normal management process, but also I'm going to show you the Jenkins process for the end. So once I promote from this generation, It's going to kick the generation process. In this case, it's just going to generate. You can generate and build. And as you can see, the file is used there. So just let me make sure the Plex is not open. Like I mentioned, I can have only one instance. Okay. So it's going to go to the Plex model. Go to the Plex model, generate everything. And then once that is finished, in this case, is requesting human interaction, but this can be configured to be automatically, so you don't need to worry about clicking OK. So now this is the previous process that we used to have. As you can see, this is kind of a manual way where the first part is just doing the subversion part, just committing all the sources and then creating the jar and then trying to do the compiling and all the stuff for the web application. But it's kind of, if something happened here, you need to do the process again, and it's kind of hard to identify what's happening. But now we will see that with Jenkins, kind of easy to do. Okay, it's just cleaning everything, just making sure that we have the objects and everything. It's just building, copying, and at the end, it's going to start. It's going to stop the web server and it's going to start the web server. Okay, the web server was not on, so it's just an error there, but then it's going to deploy the word and it's going to start the web server. And this is something that you can automate in the process, and the web server is started and the process is finished, right? So that is the normal way that we have with Matchpoint. But now in this specific, just waiting for this to finish. Okay, the server is started. I'm going to close the server. I don't really going to test the web application. As you can see now, this is in a different status. It's in QA. And in this specific case, just to be able to show you the Jenkins, the QA has the actual process to promote the sources to a Git so that Jenkins can consume that, those new changes. And just to show you, also I just put a pause in the script because it's really fast and you won't be able to see other ways. So I'm going to promote this. And this is the Matchpoint script processes that is actually committing to the Git. If there is any error here, you will see it in the log. And then all these sources are committed to the Git repository using Matchpoint now. Okay, this press any key I just added for people to see, but this is not there normally. Okay, so the process is finished, right? And then all the sources are ready for Jenkins to consume. And it would go to me. Okay. Right now, this is, I'm doing this manually, but the idea is that this will be part automatically of all the process. So I can do build now. And Jenkins is going to actually take care of the building process. It's going to take like 2 minutes to do the same thing that Matchpoint did previously, but there's not too much information. This is going to send an email. It's going to show you any problem that you have. It's going to be more friendly to the eye to be able to know what is happening in your promotion process. Okay, just take some time to finish. And if there is any error, you can actually take a look at the logs. And this will have another component that is running the web server in Docker also. So this kind of provide more flexibility than just using the auto-build, auto-deploy script from Matchpoint. So just integrating more tools into the DevOps component of that we normally do. Okay, it's going to take like a minute. So if there is any error, we will see. And yeah, we will see an email that is saying it's failed or successful. So it's good to know. Right now that I'm using the other process, I just need to go and take a look at the log and see if anything is happening there. But with this, it's just right away you would know that something went wrong or that everything is fine, and you can continue with your daily work. Okay, I don't know if you have any questions at this moment or anybody in the. Oh,
discussion.
Yeah. Okay.
Chat, questions?
No, there's none. Okay. Okay, so something failed. I may need to look if I promoted the wrong objects. But, okay, I'm going to finish. I'm going to stop here. That is the last thing I have in my presentation, just to show you how we're doing the Jenkins part right now. So there is my contact information if you need any questions. And yeah, if there's no question, I'm going to finish. Okay. And to finish, do I need to finish the session or?
No, they've been running.
Just-
exit yours.
Okay.
See.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.